The silence before the storm commander Elena Cross stood in the observation deck of Sentinel Station Alpha, her green eyes fixed on the endless darkness beyond. The station floated silently at the edge of human-controlled space, a lonely guardian watching over Earth's borders. Elena had served here for 8 years, and in all that time, she had never felt the cold grip of fear that now squeezed her chest. The distress signal had come through 40 minutes ago. Medical convoy Delta 7, carrying supplies and doctors to the colony on Kepler 186F, had gone silent. The last transmission was a broken scream and the words no one wanted to hear. "They're firing on us. We're unarmed. Please, we're doctors." Elena's second-in-command, Lieutenant James Park, approached with a data tablet. His face was pale. "Commander, we have visual confirmation. The convoy is destroyed. All 15 ships. There are no survivors." His voice cracked slightly. 500 people. Doctors, nurses, medical students. Gone. The weight of those words settled over the command center like a shroud. Elena forced herself to remain steady. "Do we know who attacked them?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Yes, ma'am. Kryn Dominion warships. 6 heavy cruisers. They didn't even try to hide their signatures." James paused. "Commander," the convoy sent out a clear identification signal. They followed every protocol. The Kryn knew they were medical personnel. Elena felt rage building inside her, but she pushed it down. Anger would not help now. "Contact Earth Command. Send them everything we have. Every scan, every recording, every piece of evidence." Within hours, the news spread across Earth. Billions of people watched the recovered footage of the attack. They saw the white ships with red medical crosses being torn apart by energy weapons. They heard the final messages from doctors begging for mercy that never came. The outrage was immediate, and Universal. President Marcus Chun addressed the world from the Global Assembly Hall. He was a tall man with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much suffering. Today, 500 innocent people were murdered while performing acts of mercy. They were healers, not soldiers. They carried medicine, not weapons. And they were slaughtered without warning, without reason, without humanity. He paused, letting his words sink in. "I have contacted the Galactic Council and demanded justice. I have asked them to condemn this act of barbarism and hold the Kryn Dominion accountable. Their response will determine our next steps." Ambassador Sarah Okonkwo traveled to the Galactic Council headquarters on the neutral world of Concordia Prime. She was a brilliant diplomat who had spent 20 years trying to earn respect for Earth in the galactic community. She had faced countless insults and dismissals, but she never gave up hope that one day humanity would be treated as equals. The council chamber was a massive dome filled with representatives from 43 different species. At the center sat the High Arbiter, a being from the ancient Valkyrie race. Around the chamber sat delegates from every major power in the galaxy, including the Kryn. Sarah presented her case with passion and precision. She showed the evidence of the massacre. She quoted galactic law that protected medical personnel. She demanded that the Kryn be held accountable for their crimes. When she finished, there was a long silence. Then Supreme Commander Zarkov of the Kryn Dominion rose to speak. He was massive, standing nearly 3 meters tall, with dark scales covering his body and yellow eyes that gleamed with contempt. "The human speaks of law and justice, but she does not understand the reality of galactic politics. The convoy was destroyed because it entered Kryn territory without authorization. We have the right to defend our borders." It was a lie so obvious that several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. But no one spoke up. No one challenged the Kryn commander. The High Arbiter cleared his throat. "The Council acknowledges the tragedy that has occurred. However, The matter of territorial boundaries remains complex. We recommend both parties exercise restraint while we investigate further." Sarah felt her heart sink. It was the same response Earth always received. Empty words. Meaningless promises. The Council would investigate for months or years, and by then, everyone would have forgotten. The Kryn would face no consequences. The 500 dead humans would receive no justice. She stood tall and spoke clearly. "Let the record show that Earth came to this council seeking justice through proper channels. Let the record also show that we were denied. History will remember this moment." Then she turned and walked out of the chamber, her head held high despite the crushing disappointment. When Sarah reported back to President Chun, she could barely contain her emotions. "They don't care, Marcus. To them, we're nothing. Insects to be swatted away. The Kryn can murder our people, and the Council does nothing because they fear Kryn military power." President Chun nodded slowly. He had expected this outcome, but hearing it confirmed still hurt. "Then we must show them that fear is not one-sided. It's time to activate Project Nightfall." Project Nightfall had been humanity's most closely guarded secret for a decade. While the galaxy saw Earth as a weak, backward species, human scientists had been working in hidden laboratories deep beneath the surface. They had been developing technologies that the rest of the galaxy thought impossible. Dr. Kenji Tanaka waited in the underground facility known only as Site Omega. He was a small man with gray hair and tired eyes, but his mind was one of the sharpest in human history. He had dedicated 15 years to a single goal: making Earth strong enough to survive in a hostile galaxy. President Chun and Commander Cross arrived at Site Omega by secure transport. They traveled through miles of tunnels before reaching the main laboratory. What they saw there took their breath away. "Welcome to the future of human warfare," Dr. Tanaka said with quiet pride. "What you're looking at is the Phantom Fleet." Before them floated dozens of ships, but unlike any vessels the humans had ever built. These ships were sleek and dark, covered in a material that seemed to absorb light itself. They had no visible weapons, no markings, nothing that would identify them as human vessels. "They're beautiful," Elena whispered. "They're invisible," Dr. Tanaka corrected. "These ships use quantum field manipulation to bend light, radiation, and sensor waves around them. To any scanner in the galaxy, they simply don't exist. The Kryn have nothing that can detect them. No one does." President Chun walked closer to examine one of the ships. "How many do we have?" 80 fully operational vessels. Each one carries enough firepower to cripple a Kryn battleship. But the weapons are equally revolutionary. Dr. Tanaka pressed a control, and a holographic display appeared. "We've developed directed energy weapons that operate on frequencies the Kryn shields can't block. We've also created what we call ghost missiles. They're invisible, they can change course mid-flight, and they strike with precision. How long until we can deploy them?" Commander Cross asked. "They're ready now," Dr. Tanaka replied. "I've been waiting for this day, though I hoped it would never come." The plan was developed over the next 72 hours. Earth would not attack Kryn civilian targets. They would not stoop to the level of their enemies. Instead, they would strike military installations, showing the galaxy that humanity could defend itself without becoming monsters. Commander Elena Cross was given command of the Phantom Fleet. She selected her crew carefully, choosing only volunteers who understood the risks. These would be the first humans to strike back against those who thought. Earth was weak. The target was a Kryn military base on the planet Tharsis. 3. This base coordinated Kryn operations in the sector and housed the Very ships that had destroyed the medical convoy. Intelligence suggested over 3,000 Kryn military personnel were stationed there, along with 200 warships. The Phantom Fleet departed from hidden launch facilities scattered across Earth's moon. They traveled through space routes that human scouts had mapped in secret over the years, pathways that avoided major shipping lanes and sensor networks. It took them 3 weeks to reach Tharsis 3, moving slowly to maintain stealth. Elena stood on the bridge of her flagship, the shadow of Earth. Around her, crew members worked in focused silence. They all knew what this mission meant. Success would prove that Earth could defend itself. Failure would invite total annihilation. Status report, Elena ordered. Lieutenant Park consulted his displays. All 80 ships are in position, surrounding the base. The Kryn have no idea we're here. Their patrols are following normal patterns. They're completely unprepared. Elena took a deep breath. 500 innocent doctors and nurses had died because the galaxy thought humans were too weak to matter. Today, that perception would change forever. All ships, this is Commander Cross. Lock onto your designated targets. Fire on my mark. She paused, thinking of the faces she had seen in the convoy footage. People who had only wanted to heal, to help, to make the galaxy a better place. They deserved justice. Fire. The Phantom Fleet struck simultaneously. Invisible energy beams lanced out from 80 ships, targeting defense platforms, weapon systems, communication arrays, and parked warships. The attacks came from every direction at once. From an enemy the Kryn couldn't see, explosions rippled across the military base. Defense shields flickered and failed under the precise assault. Kryn warships tried to launch, but ghost missiles found them before they could escape orbit. Each missile struck with devastating accuracy, targeting engines and weapon systems, crippling rather than destroying. The attack lasted 12 minutes. When it ended, the Kryn military base on Tharsis, the third, was effectively neutralized. 200 warships were disabled. Defense installations were offline. Communication networks were destroyed. And through it all, not a single Kryn had seen their attackers. Elena gave the order to withdraw. The Phantom Fleet vanished into the darkness of space, leaving behind only questions and fear. The Kryn would rebuild their base, but they would do it knowing that an invisible enemy had struck them at will. Supreme Commander Zarkov received the report in his command fortress on the Kryn homeworld. He read it 3 times, unable to believe what he was seeing. An entire military base, one of the strongest in the Dominion, had been crippled in minutes by an enemy they never detected. "Find out who did this," he roared at his subordinates. "I want answers now." But there were no answers. The Kryn technical experts analyzed every sensor reading and found nothing. No energy signatures, no debris, no evidence. It was as if ghosts had attacked them. Word spread quickly through the galaxy. The invincible Kryn Dominion, the military power that made even the Council tremble, had been struck by an unknown force. Speculation ran wild. Some said it was a new species from beyond known space. Others whispered about ancient weapons awakened from forgotten wars. Only a few people in the entire galaxy knew the truth. And Earth wasn't ready to reveal its hand, yet Ambassador Sarah Okonkwo stood before the Galactic Council once again. This time, her message was different. The Council had an opportunity to support justice and chose inaction. "I wonder if you will regret that choice." The High Arbiter frowned. "Is Earth threatening the Council?" "Not at all," Sarah replied with a slight smile. "I'm simply observing that the galaxy is changing. Those who seemed weak may be stronger than anyone imagined, and those who seemed invincible may discover they are quite vulnerable after all." She left the chamber before anyone could respond. Behind her, delegates whispered nervously. Something had shifted in the balance of power, and no one quite understood what it meant. On Earth, President Shun addressed the world once more. "Today, we took our first step toward ensuring that what happened to Medical Convoy Delta 7 never happens again. We will not reveal our methods. We will not boast of our capabilities. But we will make it clear that Earth and its people are under our protection. Any who harm us will face consequences. The message was heard by billions of humans who felt pride swelling in their chests. For the first time since joining the galactic community, Earth had shown it was not helpless. They had struck back, and they had done it in a way that terrified their enemies. Commander Elena Cross returned to Sentinel Station Alpha with her fleet. As she looked out at the stars, she thought about what came next. The Kryn would not accept this humiliation. They would retaliate with overwhelming force. Earth had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. And somewhere in the depths of space, Supreme Commander Zarkov was making a decision that he would come to regret for the rest of his life. He was ordering a full invasion of the Sol system. He would show these humans what true power looked like. He would crush them completely. He had no idea that he was walking into a trap that would destroy everything he had built and leave him drowning in remorse for underestimating humanity. Asterisk. The weight of regret. Supreme Commander Zarkov assembled the largest military force the Kryn Dominion had ever deployed. 5,000 warships gathered in the staging system of Arcturus Prime, a sight that would have made any species in the galaxy surrender before a single shot was fired. The armada stretched across space like a dark cloud, blocking out the stars themselves. Zarkov stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Deathbringer, watching the final preparations. His military advisors surrounded him, but none dared speak unless spoken to. The commander's rage had been building for weeks since the mysterious attack on Tharsis III. He needed someone to pay, and Earth would serve that purpose perfectly. How long until we reach the Sol system? Zarkov demanded. 6 weeks at maximum speed, Supreme Commander, replied his navigation officer. We will arrive with overwhelming force. The humans will have no chance to escape. Zarkov nodded with satisfaction. Good. I want them to see us coming. I want them to watch their doom approach and know there is nothing they can do to stop it. When we arrive, we will destroy their defenses, occupy their planet, and enslave every human who survives. They will serve as an example to anyone who dares challenge the Kryn Dominion. On Earth, President Marcus Chon received intelligence reports about the approaching fleet. The numbers were staggering. 5,000 ships against Earth's 80 Phantom vessels and various conventional defense platforms. On paper, it wasn't even a contest. But Marcus had learned long ago that wars weren't won on paper. He convened an emergency meeting in the war room, deep beneath Geneva. Commander Elena Cross attended via secure holographic link from Sentinel Station Alpha. Dr. Kenji Tanaka was physically present, along with Ambassador Sarah Okongwo and General Thomas Rivera, head of Earth's conventional military forces. The Kryn are coming in force, Marcus stated plainly. They want to make an example of us. Dr. Tanaka, can we stop them? Kenji adjusted his glasses and pulled up a three-dimensional display of the Sol system. We can't stop them through conventional warfare, but we don't need to. I've been working on what I call Operation Undertow. It uses the Kryn's arrogance against them. He manipulated the holographic display, showing simulations of ship movements. The Kryn expect us to defend Earth directly. Instead, we'll draw them into the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. We've spent the last month placing quantum field generators throughout the belt. When activated, they'll create a localized gravitational anomaly that will trap the Kryn fleet. Trap them how? General Rivera asked. Imagine trying to swim in molasses, Kenji explained. Their ships will move at a fraction of normal speed. Their sensors will be scrambled. Their communications will fail. And while they're struggling, our Phantom fleet will attack from positions they can't predict. Commander Cross studied the simulation carefully. It's brilliant, but risky. If even a small portion of their fleet escapes the trap, they could still destroy Earth's defenses. That's where the second phase comes in, Kenji continued. I've been working with Dr. Amara Johnson on biological warfare, but not in the way you might think. We've developed a nanovirus that attacks Kryn biotechnology. Their ships use organic components from many systems. This virus will cause cascading failures throughout their fleet. Ambassador Sarah raised her hand. Wait, using biological weapons crosses a line. The Galactic Council banned such weapons after the Plague Wars 3 centuries ago. I'm aware, Kenji replied quietly. But the virus only affects Kryn biotechnology. It's harmless to living beings. We're targeting their machines, not their people. It's a legal gray area, but technically within Council restrictions. President Shun made his decision. Proceed with Operation Undertow. We'll defend our home with every tool we have. But Sarah, I want you to reach out to every species in the galaxy. Show them what's happening. Make them see that the Kryn are coming to commit genocide. Maybe some will find their courage. Sarah nodded. I'll try, but don't expect miracles. Fear is a powerful motivator, and everyone fears the Kryn. Over the next 6 weeks, Earth prepared. Engineers placed the final quantum field generators in the asteroid belt. The Phantom Fleet practiced coordinated attacks in deep space. Conventional forces prepared defensive positions around Earth's orbital platforms. Every human on the planet knew what was coming. Ambassador Sarah worked tirelessly, sending messages to every species represented on the Galactic Council. She shared intelligence about the Kryn fleet's movements. She reminded them of the galactic laws being violated. She appealed to their sense of justice and their self-interest, pointing out that if the Kryn could invade Earth with impunity, no one was safe. Most species ignored her messages. A few sent polite but meaningless responses expressing concern. But 3 species responded differently. The Zeridians, a race of insectoid traders, sent a message saying they would provide intelligence support. The Lumarians, beings of pure energy who valued knowledge above all, offered to share advanced sensor technology. And surprisingly, the Velkari themselves, the ancient species who led the council, sent a private message to Sarah requesting a secure meeting. Sarah met with the Velkari representative, an elder named Keeper Thanos, in a secret location on Concordia Prime. Keeper Thanos was thousands of years old, with skin like aged leather and eyes that seemed to see through time itself. Ambassador Okonkwo, Thamos began. My people have observed humanity since you first ventured into space. We have seen your wars, your cruelties, but also your compassion and resilience. We believe you have potential that most species lack. Then why hasn't the Council protected us from the Kryn? Sarah asked, unable to hide her frustration. Because the Council is afraid, Thamos admitted. The Kryn have grown too powerful. We have allowed a monster to rise, and now we don't know how to stop it. But perhaps humanity can do what we cannot. He leaned forward. The Velkari cannot officially support Earth. Politics prevent it. But unofficially, I will provide you with something valuable. The command codes for Kryn fleet coordination systems. Sarah's eyes widened. How do you have those? We are old, Ambassador. We have spies in places you cannot imagine. Use these codes wisely. They will give you access to the Kryn's most secure systems. He transferred data to her encrypted device. And know this, if you succeed in defending your world, the Velkari will push for Earth to be granted full voting status on the Council. You will no longer be second-class citizens in the galactic community. The Kryn fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system 6 weeks after departing Arcturus Prime. Supreme Commander, Zarkoth looked at Earth's sun with satisfaction. Soon, that sun would shine on a conquered world. Deploy advanced scouts, he ordered. Map their defenses. I want to know every gun, every ship, every last desperate measure they've prepared." The scouts reported back within hours. Earth had conventional defense platforms around the planet and its moon. Several dozen older model warships were positioned in defensive formations. To Kryn sensors, it looked like Earth was preparing for a last stand with outdated technology. "Is this all they have?" Zarkoth laughed. "Where is the mysterious force that attacked Tharsis III? Where are the weapons they've been hiding?" He turned to his officers. "They're bluffing. They have nothing. Proceed with the invasion. Take the entire fleet through the asteroid belt. We'll sweep aside their defenses and be having dinner in Earth's capital by sunset." The Kryn fleet moved forward in a massive formation. 5,000 warships entered the asteroid belt, confident in their overwhelming superiority. And that's when everything went wrong. The quantum field generators activated simultaneously. Space itself seemed to twist and distort. Kryn ships that had been moving at faster-than-light speeds suddenly slowed to a crawl. Their navigation systems went haywire, showing impossible readings. Communications between ships turned to static and garbled noise. On the Deathbringer, Zarkoth grabbed his command chair as the ship lurched violently. "What's happening?" he shouted. "Gravitational anomaly, sir." His science officer replied frantically. "We're caught in some kind of spatial distortion. I can't get accurate readings. It's like nothing I've ever seen." Before Zarkoth could respond, the first attacks came. The Phantom fleet struck from all directions simultaneously. Invisible ships fired devastating energy beams that punched through Kryn shields as if they weren't there. Ghost missiles appeared from nowhere, targeting engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. Kryn ships tried to return fire, but they couldn't see their attackers. They shot wildly into space, hitting asteroids and occasionally each other. The neat military formation dissolved into chaos. Captains screamed orders that didn't reach other ships. Vessels drifted helplessly, their systems failing one by one. Commander Alana Cross coordinated the attack from the shadow of Earth. Her tactical display showed every Kryn ship trapped and vulnerable. All units maintain firing patterns. Target engines and communications. We're not here to commit genocide. Disable them. The battle raged for 6 hours. One by one, Kryn warships were crippled and left floating in the asteroid belt. Some tried to retreat, but found their faster-than-light drives refused to engage within the quantum field. Others attempted to form defensive clusters, but the invisible human ships picked them apart with methodical precision. Then Dr. Amara Johnson activated the second phase. The nanovirus was released into the asteroid belt, carried by millions of microscopic drones. It spread through the Kryn fleet like wildfire, seeking out the biotechnological components that powered their advanced systems. Within minutes, additional cascading failures began. Life support systems stuttered. Artificial gravity fluctuated. Even the lights on Kryn ships began flickering randomly. On the Deathbringer, Zarkoth watched his mighty fleet fall apart. This was impossible. The Kryn Dominion had never lost a major engagement. They were the apex predators of the galaxy. How could primitive humans be destroying them so completely? His communications officer managed to establish a brief connection to the rest of the fleet. "Supreme Commander, we're receiving reports from all sectors. 70% of our ships are disabled. 20% are completely powerless. The remaining 10% are requesting permission to retreat." "Retreat?" Zarkoth roared. "We are Kryn. We do not retreat. We do not surrender. All ships, continue the attack. Fight to the last breath." But his orders couldn't be carried out. Most ships couldn't even receive the message. And those that did found their weapon systems offline. The Kryn fleet, the most powerful military force in the galaxy, had been reduced to drifting scrap metal. Ambassador Sarah Okonkwo broadcast a message on all frequencies, including those reserved for galactic emergencies. Every species with communication technology would receive it. She stood before cameras in Earth's command center, her face grave but determined. People of the galaxy, I am Ambassador Sarah Okonkwo of Earth. Today, the Kryn Dominion sent 5,000 warships to destroy my world and enslave my people. They came to commit genocide because they believed we were too weak to resist. What you are seeing now is the result of that terrible miscalculation. The broadcast showed footage of the battle, the trapped Kryn fleet, the precision of the human attacks, the systematic dismantling of what everyone thought was an unstoppable force. Earth did not seek this war, Sarah continued. We came to the Galactic Council seeking justice for murdered civilians. We were ignored because we were weak. We were dismissed because we were young. We were abandoned because everyone feared the Kryn more than they valued justice. Today, we have shown that fear was misplaced. The Kryn are not invincible. Bullies never are when someone finally stands up to them. She paused, letting her words sink in across the galaxy. But we take no pleasure in this victory. War is tragedy, even when necessary. We targeted military systems, not lives. We disabled ships instead of destroying them. Because humanity understands something the Kryn have forgotten. Strength without mercy is not strength at all. It is just cruelty wearing a crown. The broadcast ended, but its impact was just beginning. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the footage in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. Humanity had defeated the Kryn Dominion. On Concordia Prime, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Representatives who had been so dismissive of Earth's pleas now scrambled to understand what had happened. Species that had allied with the Kryn suddenly distanced themselves. Fear shifted from one target to another. Keeper Thanos stood before the council. For too long, we have allowed might to make right. We have stood by while aggressive species conquered and bullied because we feared to intervene. Today, the youngest species in this council has taught us all a lesson. Justice delayed is justice denied. And the weak sometimes prove to be stronger than anyone imagined. He proposed an immediate vote. Earth would be granted full voting rights on the council. Any species that had been conquered or dominated by the Kryn would be offered support in regaining independence. And the Kryn Dominion would face immediate sanctions and reparations. The vote passed almost unanimously. Only the Kryn delegates voted against it, and they were now in the minority. In the asteroid belt, Supreme Commander Zarkoth finally accepted reality. His fleet was finished. His empire's reputation was shattered. And it was all his fault. He had underestimated the humans. He had mistaken patience for weakness, restraint for inability. That mistake had cost him everything. Commander Alana Cross received a transmission from the Deathbringer. Zarkoth's face appeared on her screen, and for the first time, the mighty Kryn commander looked defeated. I request terms of surrender, Zarkoth said quietly. Elena considered her response carefully. She thought about the 500 doctors who had died. She thought about all the species the Kryn had conquered and enslaved. She thought about the cycle of violence that could continue or end here. Asterisk. These are our terms, she said finally. You will order all Kryn forces to stand down across the galaxy. You will release every species you have conquered and allow them self-determination. You will pay reparations to the families of those killed in the medical convoy attack. And you, personally, will appear before the Galactic Council to answer for your crimes. Zarkoth closed his eyes. Everything he had built, everything he had fought for, gone. I accept your terms? 3 months later, Supreme Commander Zarkoth stood in chains before the Galactic Council. He had become a symbol of fallen arrogance, a warning to anyone who thought might made right. As he listened to the testimonies of his victims, as he heard the list of his crimes, he felt something he had never experienced before. Genuine remorse. He thought about the medical convoy he had ordered destroyed. Those doctors had been trying to help people, and he had killed them to make a point. He thought about all the worlds he had conquered, all the families he had torn apart, all the suffering he had caused. And for what? To build an empire that collapsed in a single day because he underestimated those he considered beneath him. When given a chance to speak, Zarkoth addressed the council directly. I have no excuse for what I have done. I believed strength was everything. I believed the strong had the right to dominate the weak. I was wrong. Humanity taught me that true strength comes from restraint, from justice, from mercy. They defeated my fleet, but chose not to slaughter my people. They had every right to destroy us, but they showed us compassion instead. I will spend the rest of my life trying to make amends for my crimes, though I know I can never truly repay what I have taken. Earth's transformation on the galactic stage was complete. Ambassador Sarah Okongwu took her seat on the council as a full voting member. Commander Elena Cross was promoted to Fleet Admiral. Dr. Kenji Tanaka received the highest honors Earth could bestow. And President Marcus Chun addressed a grateful planet, reminding everyone that their victory came with responsibility. We have proven ourselves capable of defending our home, Marcus said. But we must never become what we fought against. Strength must be tempered with wisdom. Victory must be followed by mercy. We join the galactic community not as conquerors, but as partners who believe that all species deserve respect and justice. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity struck back, the day the weak became strong, the day remorse consumed those who thought themselves invincible, and most importantly, the day the galaxy learned that underestimating humanity was the gravest mistake anyone could make. Years later, a monument was built on Earth. It showed 500 names, the doctors and nurses who died in medical convoy Delta 7. Beneath their names was a simple inscription. They healed. We remember. Never again. And across the stars, the galaxy had learned its lesson. Asterisk.